first of all, I'll just cover up all the stuff what we have done yesterday in the introduction. So I'll cover up in 15 minutes only, very fast. So this is basically a new CCNA exam version 1. Previous to this exam, let me go to that slide first. So previous to this exam, this is the structure of CCNA, you can see. So here you can see we have 9 different CCNA courses to go into the different streams. And in CCNP, previously we have 7 different streams and 6 in CCIE. But from 2019, Cisco changed it to again. Previously, it was only single CCNA. So now it is a single CCNA exam to go for CCNP, which contains all the matter of these all 9 streams. Now the CCNA contains all the stuff of these 9 streams, some ideas about these streams. And then you can go to CCNP. Now CCNP have just 5 streams and 5 stream again to the CCI. So now I will talk about uh, by doing this course, you will able to identify the components of computer networks like VLANs, switches, routers, hubs. You know why we use router, why we use switches, and nowadays there are layer 3 switches we can which can work as a router. So what is the requirement of router then? And because it is CCNA Cisco course, so we will talk about only Cisco devices. So there is a Cisco iOS, which is Cisco Internet Network Operating System, which runs on every Cisco device. When you boot up the device, it runs on Cisco iOS. So we learn about that iOS. We learn about the LANs, VLANs, and Ethernet physical cabling. What is Ethernet? And there are 7 layers or 7 OSI layers. There are like what is the physical cabling, how the frame is passing through the cable, the fibers, what is fibers, what is IP addressing, what is IP, how we subnet it, supernet it, and TCP IP, like what is TCP IP, what is TCP, how is three-way handshaking of TCP, static routing and dynamic routing using the protocols, host-to-host communication by switches and routers, and some idea about IPv6, implementation and verifying of VLANs, inter-VLAN routing, and loop avoidance and redundancy through the protocol, spanning tree protocol in switches, rapid spanning tree protocol, another version of STP, which is very fast. Combining 4 links into single ether channel, use it like a single link. uh, Purpose of layer 3 redundancy protocol, WAN type, VPN, what is VPN, the concept of VPN, what is access control list, how it works, how we can create it, what is dynamic host control protocol. If you know, when you connect to your ADSL router via wire or wireless, so it will provide you some IP. If you get it on your phone, sometimes you see obtaining IP address. So how it works, how that DHCP works to provide you the IP, what is IP, what is network address translation, and the concept of QoS, like how to deliver data, critical data into the through the LAN, and we prioritize in different queues so that our priority traffic will not be delayed, or will not be you can say the frame is not should not be, must not be discarded for priority traffic. So how to do that with the QoS. And wireless LAN controller, what is wireless controller, how many types of access points are there through wireless controller, how can we control all the access points throughout the network. Then we go into the virtualization. What is virtualization? What is software defined network? Nowadays there is a network. If I give you some idea about that, like we have this type of network, we have these switches. So we have these switches and we have a connectivity like that. So nowadays what we are doing, each device has its own brain, and a network administrator need to be configure each and every device. Like if you want to change something here, if you want to change something here, you have to go to log in into these switches and configure the changes in these switches. And now we have, in software defined network, we have a controller here which is connected to all these switches. And through this controller, we just, this is a, you can say this is nowadays, through this controller, which is a brain of these switches, all network, maybe router and firewalls as well. So what we want to do, we just change here and it will be automatically changed everywhere, whatever, where it is needed. And suppose this switch is sending data towards this direction, but somehow this link is failed. So this controller detected, you can say, uh, proactively, and just when it detect any congestion here, it just transfer data through this way, so that data should not be lost. There will be no downtime. So this is something with the software defined networking. There is one more thing, software SD-WAN, software defined wide area network. We will discuss how it works. Some iOS system monitoring tool, management of Cisco device, security threats, and defense technology, basic security configuration of the device, implement the basic security configuration of the device, basic steps for hardening the device so that nobody can log in into your device. Only authorized access should be there. And these are the prerequisite. You should have basic computer literacy, basic operating system navigation skills, internet usage skill, and basic IP address knowledge. This is prerequisite, but if you don't have these stuff, these things, so we'll guide you for that. It is good if you understand these things. So these six type of question we have in the exam. This is 120-minute exam if you are attempting CCNA exam from Cisco. So it has the multiple choice, single answer question. It has multiple choice, multiple answer. It has testlet, one scenario with uh, multiple choice question. There is one scenario, and there should be many questions against that scenario, single choice or multiple choice maybe. There are some drag and drop kind of thing, like you have a scenario, you have some boxes there, you have to drag right component into the right box. Some simulated labs are there, simulats are there. So this is our course content. So I will not discuss this today. uh, so basically, this is how the exam is executed, how many percentage of the course from which side, like network fundamental, 20% of the exam will be from network fundamental, network access 20%, IP connectivity 25%, IP service 10%, security fundamental 15%, and the automation and programmability only 10%. But you should uh, focus on that, because future is that automation and programmability. So this is all about this. If you have any question regarding that, you can ask me, or should I go ahead with some practical classes? One thing more. You have to, you can go to netminion.in and from that there you will get all these details. You can see our labs, and let me open a lab for you also. Today I will let you know some lab stuff. So do you have any question right now, Munir? Especially you are the new one. Raj was there in yesterday's class.
No, sir. Thank you. I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah,
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 I'm
you're
good. I'm
you're
good.
audible.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So let me open this. What happened? Okay. So this is our website, netminion.net. So you can go to the training section, go to networking. All these trainings we are providing. If you need anyone, any training in these courses also, we can provide that. Click on networking. Go to Cisco, routing and switching, CCNA 200-301. This is our course name, which is the new course of CCNA. So whatever I told you, it is all written here in this section. And anytime if you want any help, you can click on this WhatsApp, and you can type in your question and you will be answered shortly. If I talk about labs, and there is a site assistant also here, you can also write your question here for customer support. You can go to labs. Okay, so this is our labs. We have different labs for like SD-WAN, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, F5, Firepowers. So if you need any of these labs, you can buy it from this portal. Or like I have here for CCNA, so click on Access Lab, and in my so this is basically our CCNA lab. So you have two router, two multi-layer switches, one wireless LAN controller, and two virtual PCs are there. So let me start first with my class stuff. So first of all, uh, I am just passing through some one or two chapter for the theoretical chapters. I am just going exactly for the practical class, so that you can have the idea what you will get in the training. So like you have one switch or router. This is your This is your router. So in this router, oh sorry, this is a switch 2960 switch you can see, but it can be a router also. So it is having a console port, which is a RJ45 or USB port, and you must have a serial, or there is a USB to serial converter right now in the market. You can have that also if you don't have, because serial ports are not common nowadays. So you have a USB. So if you are connecting to USB console, so there is a cable with this device, USB to USB. You can connect with that. If you have a serial console cable, then one side you plug in on the RJ45 console, and other side you just connect into the USB to serial converter, and connect USB to your laptop or desktop, whatever you have. Or the second thing is you can telnet or SSH through your PC, through your network into this switch through using putty. So these two types you have, you have these two types of access of this device. Now you can see these are switches. It is having RG45 console cable to direct serial port if your PC is having serial port. But if you don't have the serial port, there is a USB converter. One side is USB connecting on your PC, other side is serial. Here is the serial. Here is the serial port. There is RJ45 one side on switch. So second method is this. You can connect via this. I am just talking about console, not the putty session. And third is you have the USB cable, USB console cable. One side you can connect with the switch, on the other side you can connect with your PC, and you can have the console of the device. This is the picture of a switch. You can see this is a RJ45 console. You can, if you have a serial console cable RJ45, you can connect here. If you have a USB cable, you can connect via this port. You cannot use these USB ports for, because these are not for the console. You can see the console label here in this picture with this port, and sorry, one more console here. You can see the console is there, and yellow one is the management port. It is for out of band management. We'll discuss about that later on. So this is a picture of a switch, Cisco switch. So if you are using serial port, so you have to use the baud rate 9600, database set to 8, parity none, stop bit 1. Then you click on OK, and you will be on the console of that device. So there are three methods you can use: console, telnet, SSH to go into that switch. Now I am stopping this, and I am just going into my lab. So let me give you the idea. Let me start this switch and this router as well. So it is same like a putty session. So I'm giving you idea about the uh, mode, in which mode you are in right now. Let us do with the switch only first. So can you see that greater than sign here? This is a user mode. Uh, so like I want to go with this. So you can see we have little command we can use on this mode, and there is one thing, question mark. If you question mark on this prompt, you will check whatever command you can uh, apply on this mode. This is called a user mode. So you can you cannot reload from here. There is now you have to go into the enable mode, which is called a privilege mode, and you can see the now this greater than sign convert into the hash sign, which is called a privilege mode, and it has some more privileges than the user mode. So if you click on reload, you can apply the reload command here. So these are some differences. And if you want to configure something into this switch or into the router, like let me see if the router comes up. Yes, it comes up. These modes are with that router also. So if you want to configure anything, like first of all, I will go with the show run command. Show run means show running config. It is a full command. If I put enter, so this switch is showing me all the configuration what it is having right now inside. Just so can you see now if I place put enter, I will get it line by line. So you can see here the spanning tree mode PVST, spanning tree IPCEF, no IPv6 CEF. So all these stuffs. These are the interfaces. These are blank, so there is nothing we have configured on this. These are this is you can say this is a blank switch. You have just powered it on. You are on console port and you get this configuration. So if I go point by point with this class, so show running config, I already told you. So now I will tell you this how this question mark works. First of all, let me give you the idea about router. So when we are in router also, you can see the greater than prompt. It is called a user prompt. It has a if we question mark here, it has a very few commands you can execute here. Enable full command is enable. En is a shortcut. So when you enable it, so the prompt is changed to the hash mode, which is called a privilege mode. So you have much more command set apply you can apply here. You can see, but again, if you want to configure anything on the router, on the switch, you have to go to the configuration mode, which is the which is having a higher privilege. And I will tell you later on in training that you can create a user there and you can assign different privileges to different users, like you have in your company you have appointed one person as a network operator, so that operator should not have much more privileges like an administrator. So because that person is not uh, literate enough on that device to control to change anything. So you can create a user for that user for that operator, which has a lower privileges, which can run show commands, like it can check the things but it cannot change anything. So to go into the configuration mode, there is a command configure terminal. When you configure terminal, and one more thing, in like you need a help, you don't know what is the full command, so after con I can place a question mark, and if you just you can read, it is showing me the two commands starting from con, means configure or connect. If I use F mode, it is showing me just a configure. So if you have a keyword which is associated with single command, so this conf is also appropriate to run configure command. If I go with conf and t for terminal, there is nothing after conf started from t other than terminal, so conf t is also the full command to go into config mode. Use exit to go out from that config mode or any mode. Like from this privilege mode, I will go with exit and I will out of the switch now. So like you can run en also, and I think disable is a command. Yes. So now I'm on user mode. I can en question mark. It's a full command. I can also click on the tab button. If I click on tab button, it will automatically complete that command. So enable. Like conf, it's a full command. If I go for the tab button, configure. Now T and tab button, terminal. Now I am in the config mode. So I can configure anything like here, whatever you want, password, everything. Or in the same thing we have in router, like disable. So I'm user mode, enable, privilege mode, and the conf t. I'm in the configuration mode. And let us check. So you have to from user mode with this slide. It is showing the same thing. From user mode, you have to go into enable mode. From enable mode, you have to go into the configure mode to configure the thing. You type exit and or control Z, you will be in enable mode. If you type disable, you will be in user mode. So you can change the switch port host name. You can type in the password. You can enable any interface. So let me give you idea about that. So here you can see like this is a host name. This switch means the host name of this. Let us assume I want to change the switches this switch name according to my company's standard. Something like, first of all, the host name is the command host name, and I am, suppose I am from XYZ company, so it's SW1 underscore XYZ underscore and the floor one. So you can see the host name is changed to SW1 XYZ FL1. And if I want to use the password to go into enable mode, so first of all, if you type into the password like enable password like Cisco, and you can end and now show running config. So you can check here enable password Cisco. You can see that Cisco here. But if you go into the config mode and say uh, service password encryption, put that command on, go to enable mode, show running config. Can you see that password? It is encrypted now. Whatever password now you will allow in this switch configuration, that will be encrypted. No one can see that password, but password is there. Like I will uh, disable mode. If I go to enable, it is asking for the password. So this is the configuration what I have done with the software with some commands. So I put a configuration in this switch that if anybody wants to go into the enable mode, it has to that person should know the password. So for the legitimate user can oh Cisco and I am in. So this type of configuration we can do. There are different configuration mode as well. Like I want to create a VLAN here. So first of all, I need to go into the configure terminal, config mode, because I can do anything in configuration mode. Because configuration mode is to configure the device uh, uh, in what extent we want, like what we want from the device, we can give the commands in the configuration mode also. So configure terminal. Now, if I want to, let's suppose, first of all, show VLAN. We'll see what VLANs are there. So by default in Cisco, all the ports in switches, all the ports are in VLAN 1. You can see here. But let us suppose I have to create a VLAN 10. So I have to go into configure mode, then VLAN 10. Simple command. But can you see you are in VLAN configuration mode now? You have created the VLAN 10, but now you are config VLAN. You can see it's a VLAN configuration mode. There are different configuration mode in the switch or router. To configure that thing, you have to go into that. Now if suppose I have to do something like I want to name that VLAN something like HR VLAN or admin VLAN or maybe the IT VLAN, and I suppose I forgot the command. I don't know what is that command. I have a little idea. So there is a help in Cisco. You just type in a question mark. You can see there is a question mark, and you will see whatever you can use in the VLAN configuration mode. So there is a command name. You can use this command to name that VLAN, like name and whatever, like IT underscore VLAN. And what is the change you can see here, like show VLAN. So you can see the VLAN 10, name IT VLAN, active, but no other port is active here. So you have to allow that VLAN on some port if you want that VLAN to be associated with any port. So there are two type of port, trunk and access. I am not talking about that this time. That is part of our training. But I will let you know how to configure a VLAN on a port. T. So let us suppose interface. So if you want to configure anything on interface, you have to go into the interface configuration mode. So you say interface and int is okay, and you type tab. It is full command interface. Now you can see et 0 by 1 here. So I'll go into that interface. I can et also, but after et, if I uh, press tab, it is Ethernet 0 by 0. Can you see the change in the prompt? It is config if. Now you are into the interface configuration mode. Later on, you have seen the VLAN configuration mode. So if you want anything into the interface, you have to go into the interface configuration mode. So we will be switchboard mode, access, switchboard, access, VLAN 10. No shut. By default, all ports are in shutting mode, so you have to no no shutdown is the full command. No shutdown, exit or control Z. Now, if you see show VLAN, can you see that VLAN 10 is active on ET 0 by 0? So I'll give you all these commands in future training sessions. So this is a demo. So I'm just telling you about the configuration mode, different type of configuration mode of the switch or a router. Same thing with the router. If I go into the config, if show IP interface brief, it is a command to see whatever interfaces we are having in the router. Now config mode interface ETH 0 by 0. So I am again in the configuration mode. But can you see, you don't, you cannot apply any VLAN here. Like if you say switch port, it is not a command there because it's a router, and on router every port is a layer 3 port, but you can apply IP address there. So that is a difference in switch. But I can apply IP address on switch also because it's a multi-layer switch and it is L3 switch. We can apply IP address, but I talk about that later on in the training session. So now there is one more thing left. Like if you connect, now I am connecting to this switch with the console port. So I can secure my console port also, because someone, if someone access to my hub room or my DC and it has a console cable, it just puts on the cable and access the device, and he can do whatever he wants. So I have to secure my switch as well, so that only legitimate person can log in into that device. So how we can do it? We go into the config mode, and console is a line, and when we telnet or SSH, it is also a line. So line has three modes. One is auxiliary line, then the console, and the VTY. VTY is a virtual terminal, what we connect with SSH or Telnet. But we are talking about right now console. So line, console 0. Can you see you are in line configuration mode? Here you have these commands, the, these much of commands you can use here. So what I use, like I just say password and Cisco and login. Login synchronous, login local if you have a local username password. So login. Just one more thing I want to tell you. If I am showing you the running config, you can see the line con 0, password, and login synchronous login. So you are seeing the running configuration file which is running on the system right now. But there are two configuration here. Show startup config. If you see startup config is not present because it's a blank switch. If I click the command copy running config to startup config. Yes. So right now the running config, like show start config, running config and the starter config are same because we have copied it just now. So now I will tell you one thing, like conf t vlan 20 name I no, name HR. You can see if there is any mistake in the command, it will show it with the caret side there, because this is a wrong command. This, so I will just remove it and click on. Now I have not copied it into the startup config. First of all, we see the running config. So where is the VLAN? No, sorry, the VLAN is in other VLAN configuration file. That I will go into the line VTY 04 password Cisco login. Now exit, show run. You can see the password here on VTY line. But if I go with the show startup, You can see there is no password in the VTY. So right now, if you have not saved your configuration, running configuration into startup configuration, if you reboot the switch, it will give you a VTY line without password. So no change will be applicable what you have not saved. So this is a startup config and the running config. So I'm telling you these things. There are four memories in the switch. One is RAM, it's a working memory, and the running configuration is always there. So I've shown you the show running config, which is in RAM, and there is a flash memory where the Cisco iOS software reside. Where when the system boots up with this iOS, it resides on the flash memory. There is a ROM which has a bootstrap program, and there is a non-volatile RAM. It has the startup configuration. So when we see the show startup config, that is from the NVRAM, and when we see the running config, that is from the RAM. So whenever we power off this device, no running config will be there because RAM, after losing a power, RAM will be empty, but NVRAM is stable. So when you have a power recycle, whatever you have in the startup config in NVRAM, you will get that. So how to check the memory? Show, I think dir is a command. Yes, dir. There you can see how many memories are there. If you have external disk, this zero disk one. If you remember, I have just in this slide, I have given you. If you remember this figure, there are two USB ports. So there, these can be used as the disk. Just disk zero and disk one. This is NVRAM. So if I want to see what is in NVRAM, dir, sorry, NVRAM, press enter. So you can see the startup config, private config, persistent data, if index table, and you're not getting flash here because this is virtual image, not the actual box. So there are some limitations in these things. You can see the flash here also. If flash is available in, if you are in a Cisco box, you can see the flash here. So this is the different config modes of switch, how you can have the help with the question mark, with the tab key, and if there is any problem with the command like you have by mistake NDIR, so it will give you, sorry, okay, one more thing. If you have put a wrong command, it is starting translating using a domain server. I will let you know what is this DNS server is in the training session later on. But to avoid this delay, because I'm not able to type any command now because it is trying to translating this command from the domain name server. So just go to the config mode, and the command is no IP domain, domain, I think lookup. So actually I didn't remember the full command, so I use this question mark because I have an idea what is the command. So no IP domain lookup. Now if I say NDIR, it will not going anywhere. So this is kind of stuff in Cisco switch and router. So accessing a router or a switch is the same thing. Modes are same. Just router have a different characteristic and the switch is having a different characteristic. What we understand in this whole training of CCNA, and what about the VLANs, what about the configuration IP, and having host-to-host communication, routing, static routing, and dynamic routing. So we will have that all stuff with our training. So If you have any question, I'm now ending up this demo class. So if you have any question, you can ask me. I'm just stop sharing my machine.